Hey, how's it going, guys? So we're back with another Star Citizen video. If you're new channel, welcome. It's been about like maybe 4 or 5 days since I did an Inside Star Citizen video because I've been doing a lot of Helldivers 2 live streams and gaming and all that. So that's why I never really got to it. But today I am leaving my Airbnb, so there's no time for gaming. But however, there's enough time to squeeze in this recording. So this one is called Inside Star Citizen: Paws and Claws. So judging by the title, we're gonna be talking about some, I guess, ferocious animals, or just like maybe certain creatures that are indigenous to like these worlds, and maybe they're hostile, or maybe they could be tamed and kept as pets, I'm guessing. But anyways, as you already see Jared on the screen, so without anything else, let's just jump into the video.
There are lots of ways to bring life to the worlds of Star Citizen, whether that's the
Jared Huckabee, rhyming titles were his idea. Paws and Claws. Hey, one hell of an idea.
people that inhabit them, the structures they build, or the coffee cups and food wrapper decor scattered across their desk.
A med pen.
But perhaps nothing quite as much as nature's inhabitants. Now, animals, creatures, fauna, whatever you call them, have been one of the long unfulfilled promises of the persistent universe since planets were first introduced in Alpha 3.0. And 0.23 patches later, they've made their much anticipated debut with the first of a new herd of offerings that will continue in subsequent releases. So let's go now to just some of the team members responsible for their creation and get just a small glimpse into what went into their creation.
Creatures are just going to offer a whole different dimension to the gameplay.
They bring a sense of life to a world, gives an environment a sense of that it's a lived-in space.
There's a lot going on the planets, but it can feel at times like there's not a huge amount going on. But with the introduction of creatures, that all changes.
Oh yeah, those creatures. Forgot what they're called.
We have now the ability to create life wherever you look.
Looks like
It
pelicans.
just takes the game to another level of breathtaking. It adds believability to the experience.
Looks like a prehistoric pelican mixed with a pterodactyl.
I don't think any feature so far has come to the level of adding immersion that Fauna has.
All right, Paws and Claws. Go fetch. He went against you.
In Alpha 3.23, we're adding two new creatures. One is the Marek,
Marek, okay.
and one is the Copian.
Copian, yeah, there we go.
When you're kind of exploring these planets, we are introducing a whole range of different creatures going forward into the future.
Well, you want to start off simple, right? You look at it, you're like, oh, cool, should we work on these big creatures straight away? Or, should we, ground down, make sure the pipeline works, make sure the basics work? What's more simple than, a dog, cat, and a bird? And ultimately, the birds basically prove out these features that they can be done and they are doable. Let's start with the Marek bird. So this is a fairly simple creature, and you'll see them flying around in flux. And it's really nice when you're just in your ship looking out the window and you see a bunch of birds and life on the surfaces where you wouldn't before.
I think the Marok as a bird will add a sense of scale to the world. Like it helps a lot to see a flock of birds and add scale to anything that's bigger in the distance. I think this is going to help a lot to that part.
If you're like walking along the planetary surface and you hear a core in the distance, you're like, oh, there's Marek, so we can go find them, we can go see them. With the creature designs, we don't want to make anything that you look at and you go, oh, that's a pigeon, because we're a sci-fi game. We want to make it a bit cooler and a bit weird, and we don't want to spoil too much about where they are, who they are, what they're doing, and things like that when it comes to creatures, because we basically want the players define them. And we don't want to say, hey, they're on these specific locations, on these specific things, because they could turn up in areas that you wouldn't expect.
For the Maroc, we wanted a
interesting.
colorful variety of birds that we could use to fill the planets. The creatures have different skin depending on the biomes they're in, so some are going to be more colorful, some a little less colorful. They're inspired by real life animals to some extent.
They have these like big, like gulped chins. They've got these nice flappy wingspans, but they're also a bit hairless as well.
We kind of look at
like I said, pterodactyl,
featherless birds, because for the first batch of creature, we could not use a lot of feathers and fur, so we went to a more skin type of creatures.
You know, those cats that don't have any hair, they look a bit like that, but in more of a bird form. It's very odd.
Oh, those hairless cats,
The Copion is essentially a hybrid between a dog and a cat. It's got 4 eyes. It's a nice, chill, social behavior, which you can see, you know, you see them howling, or you hear them howling, or you see them walking around and kind of, you know, scratching themselves and licking themselves and things like that.
The Copion has a variety of colors. There's one that is more savanna-like. There's one that's more forest-like, so it can blend into the environment a bit better. There's an Arctic one that has kind of the pattern of a snow leopard.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And then once you're in combat, they're faster than the player sprinting, and they're usually in packs of like 10 to 14. Visually, they're a nice kind of sleek, slender look. When you think of dogs, you think of them more
he has tiger stripes.
Worker dogs. When somebody asks us, you know, how big is this creature, we reference.
Can you tame them? And if you can, do any of you guys have one as a pet? Let me know in the comments below.
It's a German Shepherd, for example.
The Copion was designed to have a hostile look, so it has horns, it has big scales on the back.
Overall, we wanted something that you look at and you go, oh yeah, we know that's a predator. And obviously, you know, you can tell things are predators by the way their eyes are shaped and how they move, how their bone structure is, how they're set up visually. You can look at that and your brain from evolution basically goes, oh, that is a predator and it's gonna hurt me.
Yeah, it looks very obvious.
The Maroc bird is what we call a boid.
A boid on a general level, you have to imagine it's like a lot more stupid version of an actor, right? It's way less resource intensive, its behaviors are far more simple, and it's a lot easier to basically put in without performance costs.
Boids is a system that was developed a while back, but has been used to great effect in lots of films and games. It's based on 3 simple rules that allow some very complex behaviors of what you might call flocking. The 3 rules are that they maintain separation, so they don't get too close to each other. They remain aligned with each other, so they'll follow other members of the pack that go in the same direction. And cohesion are the 3 rules in boids that allow this flocking behavior to be generated.
So they're a group of birds essentially stay together in a single area, and you know, they fly up, they fly down. They're intentionally made to be very simple and kind of what you'd expect from a bird, especially if you're hunting them as well, because we don't want individual birds flying all around the planet and things like that.
Man, what do you
Because we
get from
wanna kinda
America?
keep them nicely clustered together in an area where you go, okay, cool, this is where the birds are.
So the Copion is not a boid, it's a fully fledged NPC character.
When you look at the Copion, that's what we call an actor, right? And that essentially has the more costly associations, like being able to use like nav meshes, being able to use behavior trees, and because Copions have to make decisions, but Marocs don't.
So Copion is an NPC creature.
Yes.
Interesting.
T-pose on chairs.
Well, firstly, they're not going to be on chairs in the first place, unless you lure one into your spaceship and somehow magically put them on a chair. No, they're not going to T-pose on chairs, sadly.
So you're going on the record, Copion's never going to jump on a chair.
Ooh.
No, I'm not going to say they're not going to jump on a chair.
The animator's task with the creatures is to breathe life into these entities, because these entities basically are just points in space that are moving around. The Maroc, when it's kind of flying across the sky, as far as the game's concerned, it's just a point in space, just moving across the sky. But the animators actually create that
That is so
illusion
cool.
of life. The first step in the process is moving across the sky, but the
Like how we can see how they created it and things like that. And I'm really curious as to know like what program did they use to like create these. But either way, I mean, this is something I can't really do because, like I said, I can't draw or do anything like that. So this is really cool to see.
Animators actually create that illusion of life. The first step in the process is we have a look at the design doc. We basically get an idea and the feel for what the designers are after for the creature. We then try and kind of link that to, because these are alien creatures, we kind of link that back to what is it like that already exists on Earth. And for the Marok, it was things like a pelican, that kind of creature. So we then gathered the reference of pelicans doing all the things
like
that
I said,
we
a
want
pelican
Marok to
and a
do.
pterodactyl.
With that, we will then try and kind of breathe that life, that essence of that creature into the Marok. So we went through many different iterations of like the poses that this copion should be in. Very small details can kind of tell a whole different story about the copion. In one case, we were creating the aggressive idle pose. We had a pose that we thought was kind of really aggressive looking, kind of down low, and it was kind of ready to kind of pounce at you. But
kind of like
one
a
of
cat.
the devs said, like, this kind of feels like it's playing with me. It kind of feels like he's kind of should be wagging his tail. So we just kind of changed a few very subtle things, and all of a sudden, like, the whole feeling of that pose changes. So there's many different kind of decisions that we have to make to achieve that final result that we want, that result of the copion being this
Oh, damn, that guy didn't make
thing
it.
that's out for your blood.
One of the things we've been doing with copions is trying to get them to
Bro, you
attack
gotta run
in
faster.
packs. And we do this by giving them some special formation code that brings them together and makes them seem really cohesive in a different way from the Boids.
Bro, you
wanna
better
engage
run.
these things from distances, as they are faster than the player when they are sprinting. So these will essentially attack you and circle you in packs. Think a bit more behavior akin to wolves.
If you come across a copion outside in the wild, the first thing you're probably going to do is back up really quickly as they all come charging at you. And that can be really quite hazardous if you don't look where you're going and fall down a ravine or something.
They've got two attacks, which is this really scary pounce attack, and then they've got a more short-ranged attack.
So when the creature is kind of lunging towards you, one of the versions of the animation we had was where it kind of leapt out towards you, and it had all of its claws out, back feet, front feet, its jaws were open, just to make it look as kind of aggressive and as dangerous as possible. But it turns out that kind of made it look less dangerous because it was showing its belly.
It looks
So
like it's
we
asking for a
basically
hug.
adjusted the back end of the copion, brought its paws in slightly, and again, that changes the entire kind of feel. When the silhouette of this thing coming towards you is just a pair of jaws opening up, ready to kind of clamp down on you, and it makes it look a lot more aggressive.
And they hurt quite a lot. You know, the average
Yeah,
hit will take
nice.
a quarter of your health off, so you've got to kill these things before they come close to you, which is a problem when you're in caves.
Okay, so basically avoid cave because unless you got a flamethrower, but I'm guessing there's something to explore in caves, maybe like maybe a mineral deposit or some loot that's hidden in there. But either way, one thing I learned, do not go in caves.
Because when you're in caves, it's a close quarters environment, and the copions have the upper hand.
So you'll come across a copion in a cave, and they'll probably be doing some really cool little idle animation, like scratching themselves or shaking themselves with fleas. And if you surprise them for the first time and they're on their own, they'll probably get a bit scared and run away and join the other copions. If you follow them, then that's when you'll probably get into trouble, because a pack of 3 or 4 or more copions attacking at the same time could be really quite deadly.
Oh, he didn't make it.
So with the Marok, it was a very iterative process, and there was a lot of back and forth. It started off with experimenting with morphing, where you can take one source and morph it with another one. And we did a lot of experimentation with using different types of birds, like eagles and hawks and owls, and morphing it with non-animal
That is cool.
source, like more like textural, squeaky, squawky stuff. So we started off quite
Was that a
grounded
horse?
and taking sounds that sounded quite a lot like
By the way,
squeaky,
so this is a crow. Does make sense.
squawky stuff.
I can hear it a little bit now. Yeah, but
So we
that's
started
definitely a
off
horse.
Quite grounded and taking sounds that sounded quite a lot like ravens and crows, but we're going more towards a little bit more like dinosaur-esque and a bit more screechy and more alien. So yes, trying to find that balance.
Pterodactyl.
The Copion, we wanted to make sure that it has a presence in the world. You don't just hear it when it's attacking you. You can hear it snuffling around and grunting when you're sneaking up on it. They're howling, they're communicating with each other. We just wanted it to add life and presence to the world. So the Copion is a very mean-looking predator, and we wanted it to sound just as mean as it looks. So we started off with a mix of sources from lions and tigers and all sorts of predatory mammals, and mixing it in
nice.
with dogs and things like seals, sea lions, and trying to bring in an alien element as well with some
Seal.
non-literal sounds. I've got a recording of a wet balloon squeaking that I mix in at certain points just to give it a little bit of alien flavor.
Oh, that's cool.
So one of our sound designers, Chris, has this beautiful Cocker Spaniel that he recorded loads of sounds of at his house, and we used a little bit of that sprinkled in just to give it that dog characteristic.
Are you saying that you find sea lions and wet balloons terrifying?
It can be if you if you put them in the right order and then.
But I find that really cool, like how they created the sounds of the animals, how it's just shown right there. And basically they took pieces and sounds of many different animals and morphed it together into one to create a new sound for this creature. So I find that really cool because the only time I actually saw how sounds were created for like certain objects or creatures was Star Wars, like how they created the blaster sound, how they created the lightsaber sound. Because if I remember correctly, I forgot which one it was. I think it was the blaster or the lightsaber. It was like this like really like long tensile steel cable or something like that. Like this thing was taut, and if you hit it like with the metal tool, it'll make a certain sound. And I'm pretty sure that's how they created the blaster or lightsaber sound. So it's really cool that how they're like, hey, I took the sound of a sea lion, I took the sound of a crow, I took the sound of this dog, I took the sound of this, and let's just put it together and let's see what we can make. So that was really cool how they did all this.
So the sounds of fear are sea lions, wet balloons, and Cocker Spaniels.
So what can you harvest from them?
We know
Damn.
some of you don't just want to pet the bird.
Yeah.
Watch the bird, look at the bird, enjoy the bird, be one with the bird. Some of you want to murder the bird.
Yeah, so I've seen some people going up to the birds and punching them.
Oh, he threw an uppercut.
It's definitely a way to interact with wildlife. And if you do that, you'll find a pearl in their, I think it's in the base of their mouth. And essentially it's made of like congealed innards and looks incredibly gross. So if you manage to kill the Copions, you'll see.
I did see that when it opens his mouth to make their sound. And then I saw that, I was like, is it eating something or something like that? But never mind, now he answered what it actually is.
And looks incredibly gross. So if you manage to kill the Copions, you'll see the horn on them and you can loot that, and it's basically a valuable commodity of which you can sell on.
It's going to be exciting for the players to hunt out those creatures and find them in different environments, whether they'll be in the middle of the trees or hiding in caves. There's a bit of a challenge there, but there's also that feeling of nature and the wild that you're going to get kind of appearing on creatures performing these kind of behaviors as though they're
Can you
not
skin
being
a
watched
Copian?
by humans before.
But the nice thing about this is it kind of leads into a wider gameplay loop that we're looking at. We talked about crafting quite a lot, and this is an example of how crafting gameplay will come into it. It's obviously the first step as we're looking at more creatures and more variants and things like that. But obviously we'll get in that further detail as we go on. The creature/fauna in general, obviously we've previously experimented, we've previously played with things, as you'll have seen, but now we're in the active development of it. So we have a really nice kind of idea of what we want for 1.0 and all the creatures we want for that, and looking at how we can make the creatures in the future fit in the Star Citizen universe. So we've always been tinkering, we've always been playing, but now we have a pipeline that technology is working in, and we've basically proven it out now. So the future of creatures is a lot more easier and convenient to make than some of the more previous challenges.
I think it's very exciting for us and the character team to tackle the creatures. It's something that the whole team is excited about. We are very proud of the work that we do.
So animating a creature isn't an easy thing at all. So obviously for the creatures, we couldn't mocap. So hand keying the creatures, it can be difficult to raise the quality up to the level that the rest of the universe is at. But I think as a team, I think we've really managed to actually achieve that level of quality that we're aiming for. I think that the team's done a great job.
Creatures definitely bring life to the different planet environments that we have, allow us to have a different range of kind of gameplay situations where you've got characters attacking you in different ways and allowing us to show a more characterful range of behaviors, perhaps.
Creatures, it's not just a static, prop. It's something that is alive and breathing, and you can react to it and it will react to you, and it just gives a bit of gameplay for the player to engage in.
And as we go on, the previous creatures that you've seen, for example, the space whale and the space cow, those things are in active development right now. And
What's
you can
the
imagine
hair?
with creatures that are this large, the question is, how do we loot them?
Oh.
How do we do those things? And that will be a very fun addition, and the things we're cooking up are very exciting.
Merrick and the Copian.
So you'll see creatures in 323, and it's going to be an amazing experience, adding true believability to the world. Happy hunting, good luck getting those horns, and try not to touch the pearls, they're a bit gross.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that it takes a confluence of disciplines like art, design, animation, AI, and more to bring these creatures to life. That you don't actually have to hunt these fine fauna, but if you do, there are rewards to be had. And that Copians prefer the tundras and savannas they're used to, and may not behave well if you forcibly relocate them. Not that that has ever stopped any one of you. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week.
All right, so it looks like the focus of this video was the Merrick and the Copian. What I find really interesting is I've seen the Copian a few times in many different videos. I think they were like used by other like NPCs as like like attack dogs in a way. But now we get to see how it was developed, the sounds, how it was created, and the Merrick, like I said, looks like a pelican and a pterodactyl mixed together. But either way, it was really cool to see like the works of how it was created and the ideas that came to. But one thing I noticed about the Merrick and the Copian when it comes to hunting, like the Merrick, you could take out that pearl that was in its mouth, and the Copian, you could take its horns. Is that really the only thing you could take? You can't take anything more? Because I thought it might be a little bit like Red Dead Redemption, where if you kill like an animal, you can skin it, you can actually take more. Like the Copian, if you kill it, maybe you could take the hide. Or maybe they just didn't go into that, and maybe Red Dead Redemption just went into more detail with something like that. But either way, this was a really great video, and I really enjoyed it, and hope you guys did too. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Inside Star Citizen, because I really did. And make sure to hit that notification bell so you know when I drop another video. And also shout out to all my members, subscribers, viewers. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for your support, guys. I really do appreciate it. So without anything else, I'll see you guys next time.